Good evening. I'm Peg Jones, and this is the Universe Whispers 111. Tonight is my second show of the show that I started back in June. And tonight I have a guest. Her name is Dr.Jean Logan. And she has developed some healing glyphs for healing our body, mind, and spirit. And before I introduce Dr. Logan and her biography, I just want to speak a little bit about myself. I'm Peg Jones. I'm an angelic life coach, and I'm author of Living in the Heart Place with Your Angels, Daily Angelical Whispers Through the Year. It is a book that is that in which there is a daily angel message for each day of the year. And also there is a journal exercise. And as a matter of fact, Friday the 13th was my 5-year anniversary of the book being published. So I just thought I'd point that out. It's hard to believe that 5 years has gone by. Besides being an angelic life coach and an author, I am also an energy healing of Reiki and IET. I also am an Akashic Records practitioner and light language messenger. The light language is something that has actually been almost given back to me after not doing it in a very long time. Much to my surprise. So that's basically kind of what I'm all about. And The Universe Speaks today is being produced through Off the Cuff Radio, and my producer is Patricia Nixon, co-owner of Off the Cuff Radio and magazine. Since I've been on my spiritual journey the past 15 years, I've come to understand so many new ideas and practices, understandings. And one of the most intriguing for me is spiritual healing or energy healing. There's such a diverse repertoire of energy healing, different types, different understandings, different philosophies. And they're continually being developed. And, you know, it really kind of shows us how we are so is, and learning so much about our abilities to be able to do so much of this of self-healing. You know, and it comes to body, mind, and spirit. You know, it's so important in so many ways to keep the balance, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And today, my guest, Dr. Jean Logan, speaks of how her healing glyphs were developed and how they can be used in assisting us for our healing. And I'm just going to give a little bit of background about Dr. Logan, and then we'll have her come on. Dr. Logan is an Earth Ambassador and ordained minister. She has a doctorate in nutritional healing and has an extensive knowledge of many types of alternative healing. As a conscious channel of light over 15 years, Dr. Jean Logan received symbols and codes from the divine that are amazing powerhouses that can transform health, life, and well-being. She's the author of 3 books on the power of glyphs, sacred symbols like symbols of the dawn. And also she has a set of healing cards, sacred symbol healing cards, which are known in over 90 countries of the world. She is also director of Holy Ground Farm, a nonprofit that provides assistance to homeless children through the sales of her books. Holy Ground Farm has 58 acres of donated land in the mountains of Western North Carolina that is intended as a center for wellness education for children. So I welcome Dr. Jean, and thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Peg. I'm glad to be here.
That's great. So I know a lot of people ask you this question. Tell us what Glyph is, and how you started creating the symbols.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start. One time I was speaking to a group of people, and I was going on for 10 or 15 minutes, and somebody says, "What is a glyph?" And I thought, well, maybe I should have started with that. Glyph is a symbol that has meaning. Think about the little designs on the tombs in Egypt, drawings of caves in the Southwest. It can be just a simple little symbol, a drawing on a rock or a piece of paper. These are on paper. But it's a symbol that brings meaning.
So like a hieroglyphic, or
right.
Even like
hieroglyphics. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or even like personal symbols that we have too, that we may develop for ourselves. You know, there may be
a pictogram, right? Sure.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. And so, had you heard of using glyphs for healing before?
I hadn't really. I was not sure why I was interested in the whole idea of glyphs, and I did look it up on the internet, healing glyphs, and I didn't find much. I saw some Mayan ones, but I printed them and cut them out, and they didn't do much for anything. And I think, though, it was interesting because I realized much later on I had clothing that I'd bought before that time, and they had glyphs on them. So there must have been something in my mind that I didn't realize was there yet. So
yeah. So did you like have a download of information that?
No, what happened? Not really. I got an email from a friend, and within the email was a glyph. And now my life, I want to point out that my life was a mess. I mean, I was very depressed, I just very fearful. Fear controlled my life. And so this glyph, it looked like the picture of a centipede with a little line around it. And it said that this was a glyph. This glyph would remove or destroy parasites in our body that hold fear within us. And I thought, wow, that, that was something I really needed. Fear, get rid of fear.
Yeah.
And so I printed out the page and I cut the glyph out, and it turned out to be an oval about 2 inches high with that little centipede on. And I put it against my solar plexus. And I must have been guided to do that because I had no clue. It said use with integrity, but I had no clue what to or why. And so I put it against my solar plexus, and I immediately felt a tremendous commotion going on in my liver.
Wow.
And that went on for a while, and I thought it wasn't really, it was just more like moving rather than pain or anything. That went on for a while, and then it subsided. The next day I tried it and nothing happened. Now, I want to point out, before that time, I've always been a seeker. And one time when I was meditating, I saw, was writing on a blackboard, and I felt like that was telling me to try guided writing. And after much effort, I finally was getting something with this guided writing. I was able to communicate with my guides. And so after this incident happened, I asked my guides, I said, whoever was able to give that much power to that drawing, I can do that. We can all, God has given us all the same power, so I could do that. And so they told me how to do it. And at first I didn't have much luck. I just had energy, joy, and I didn't notice anything. And then one day a friend called, and she said that she had taken her dog's glass drinking bowl out of the dishwasher when it was still hot and poured cold water in it. And it shattered into all over. A piece went deep in her foot. And she got the glass out, and this was 2 weeks later. She said it was badly infected. It had necrotic tissue, and she said she did not want to take antibiotics and wanted to know what to do, because I have quite an extensive knowledge of different herbs and type of things. And I asked her if she'd be willing to do a little experiment, and she said sure. And so I said, I'm going to create this glyph to kill bacteria, and I'd like you to try it. So she said she would, and I emailed it. I created a simple little drawing. It looked like an amoeba.
Oh, cool.
And I emailed it to her with another glyph to speed up the healing. And the next morning she said, wow, these are working. She said the pain is gone, the swelling is gone, the redness is gone. It's not oozing anymore. And it was on its way to healing. So that gave me my first success, and I knew I was onto something. So then when I continued on that, the first glyph I wrote after that was one to remove fear, because that was such a big issue with me.
Okay.
And so I created that, and when I used it, and I want to say when I create the glyphs, when I empower them, the guide said that you draw the picture, make us have a statement, and then have a ceremony. And I thought, well, candle, prayer, I was a Catholic once, I think I can do ceremony. So anyway, when I put it against my solar plexus, I could feel stuff coming out of me. I could feel stuff coming out of my breasts and out of my arms.
Wow.
So, whoa, this is great. And so, yeah, it was amazing. And so I started creating them to remove anger and resentment, to remove sadness, to remove heartache and guilt. And I just kept on whatever idea I could think of that people, because I realized that the reason I couldn't get this joy was because I had all this emotional baggage.
Right, right.
And so, but I want to say at this time, I had no intention of doing anything with this except helping myself.
Wow.
And so I just kept using them, and I was sticking them all over my husband at the time. And he was a good guinea pig. And it was very interesting. I could feel the energy moving. And it was fascinating. That's one of the things that kept me at it, was I could feel it and had so much success with it. And I gradually started feeling better.
Wow.
And so I just kept on. like I said, having no intention to do anything. And then I created one to remove uh, toxic matter, or to remove
Mm.
metals and chemicals from the body. And then I created one, enhanced the one with the amoeba. I had it include, created it to include viruses as well.
Oh, wow.
And so I kept along with this. And at the beginning, I was just drawing little pictures of stuff on 3x5 cards.
Mm.
And my husband at the time said, "Jean, you can't do this." He said, "You have to get organized." He said, "Let me put them in the computer." And so he started doing it. He put these prints in the computer. And I don't remember who told me to do them in color. I'm not sure where that went from, but it was fine. I got them colored and started drawing in color. And as he put together, it was really at the beginning of what we call Holy Ground Farm Glyph Gallery. And now I have 2 manuals, thick manuals full of glyphs and header pages showing, detailing different things. Every glyph had an empowerment state that I would read when I would power the glyph, and I would call in all the beings to assist me.
Mm-hmm.
So before I would empower them, I would say to them, "Well, I'm reading this empowerment statement. Please join me in putting your energy behind this glyph." And so that really powerful.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. That's kind of how I started when I was starting with my angel messages. Like, because I would receive something and I really wouldn't do anything about it. You know, I wouldn't show it to anybody or anything. And then I had gotten the you know, the idea to maybe start sharing them on Facebook, you know, and I found I was doing like one every day. And then the idea of making this into a book, you know, of a message for every day. And, you know, so that's what I did.
Right.
So that's, you know, I mean, it's not the same thing, but in some ways it's similar because we really didn't
what
have
you're
that intention,
right.
you know, at that time, you know, at the beginning of the time. And then, so I was just the message. It wasn't like the journal exercise. So about 3 months later, I think, they suggest having a journal exercise for each of the messages. So it was, you know, journaling and so, you know, understanding the angels can work guide, you know, guide you too. So when you use these glyphs, and I see that you do have affirmations on each of them, so it's a good idea to say the affirmation a few times as you are placing it on an area of your body, or depending on what the glyph is for.
A lot of people say, "Do I have to say the affirmation?" And so I said, well, everything is energy.
Right.
More energy. But when you've been using the same glyph over and over again, people can do whatever they want to do. If they don't want to say the affirmation, but I think it's nice to just put it in tension. And if I'm wanting to strengthen it, I will intend to strengthen the energy of the glyph with the intention.
Right.
They can read it from what's in the book, or they can just make up their own. And I never intended to write a book, but I kept people telling me that they were getting the message I should write a book. And at first I was very resistant, but I got that I really need to get them out there to help people, because there's a lot of people suffering out there. And so that really helped. I mean, I was feeling better all the time. And when I started, I could have never had the courage to write a book. And I was slowly developing, you know, the fear was leaving and all the apprehension. And
that's wonderful.
I never wanted to write more than, certainly didn't want to do more than one book. But then I had a lot of physical issues. And I had a real bad heart condition. And at the one point, I so I was invited to a sweat lodge, and my guide said, "Do not go, your heart cannot stand this." And I thought, whoa, this is, you know, serious business. And I was getting a lot of chest pains that were really scary. And I remember even calling someone to tell him that I might have to go to the hospital or call for help. But and I had dogs, and I live, you know, I didn't want any, when you live alone, you need to think about that. And
Right.
but then I thought, Kat, I don't want what the hospitals do to people is barbaric. And so I wrote the glyph for the heart to heal my own heart. And when I started using it, I never had chest pains again, but I was guided to use it for 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and so I did the same upgrade for the lungs, I created just for all the organs, all the glands, male reproductive system, female, the eyes. My husband had glaucoma and cataracts. And we used that to resolve his glaucoma and cataracts. And even though it worse now, he wrote me. And he said, after 10 years, he's still free of glaucoma. His pressure is still normal.
Wow. Wow.
It's just,
Yeah, it kind of shows you how energy really plays into a lot of ailments and things that people have, And there's a book about back pain by John Sarno. He talks about how so many of the back issues that people have, it's all emotional, and there's a name for it, the meiosis syndrome or something, and it's just talks about the emotionally based aspect of it. And the book suggests getting to the root cause of why you have to be hurting you.
right. Well, that's what the issue.
Yeah, I have the book. It's great.
In Nepal who I'm in contact with, and he has severe back pains, and I sent him copies of the books. And I just wrote up an article about how he has high blood pressure and a back pain, and so I was writing him on back pain. But then his wife wrote, he said he also has high blood pressure. So I get a lot of people asking, do you have a glyph for high blood pressure? But what I explained to them, high blood pressure is due to emotional issues, deep-seated emotional issues. It could date back to childhood. And I kind of made an analogy like you've got a pot something on the stove and the lid is on tight and got a low heat and it slowly starts to build up pressure.
Yeah.
Like if you have actually I would say the biggest culprits there are anger and resentment.
Mm-hmm.
But when you've got that buried within you, that can keep bubbling like festering like a boil. It's just festering in your body, and then you get blood pressure. And then
you could have pain,
right,
right
after treating it with medication is really not a good idea unless it's an emergency, because you start working on cause. And then diet and exercise are critical as well.
No, I definitely agree with that, and it's just, I think people are beginning to see that, because there's just a lot more written about it and a lot more being talked about.
Right, and that's
on
good.
that.
The medical establishment is not wanting to even talk about it because they don't make money on helping people overcome their, well, maybe they do with fears and stuff like that. If it becomes a big thing, they'll think of a way.
And they'll tell you, that it'll, your symptoms will never change, that you have to take this pill.
Right, you take it the rest of your life. Right. And the thing is that
sometimes you do, but not all the time.
Yeah, that medication is dangerous. That stuff has terrible side effects, and so
exactly.
Right.
And and I think it's, I mean, for my own self, it's caused me to question, and to really do research about different aspects, of what is being said holistically, energetically, and through what Western medicine is also saying, and just trying to make the best decisions from what I am learning and gaining, in understanding.
Right.
How do other people respond to them? I mean, you've
I have to tell this quick story of one man who contacted me, and he had wanted to know what he could do for high blood pressure. And I told him about the emotional aspect, and he had a copy of the first book, and he said immediately he figured out the connection. He said that his father had abused him very much, and he really had a real problem with his father. He really, I don't know if I would say he hated, but he resented the fact that he was always being punished and his sister never was punished. But he had all this festering within him. This man was 60 and his father was now 94. And his father, if he went to see his father was still ugly toward him. And
Mhm.
so when I explained that, he looked at it differently. And he took the glyph for anger and resentment and put it on his solar plexus. And the next morning he called and he says, I checked my blood pressure this morning and it was normal, he said.
Wow.
And so just in overnight, I can't say everything is going to be that quick, but for him, that just for that day, I don't know if it came back. I don't know that we discussed it much further after that.
That's pretty cool.
Right, it was.
That's really cool.
But he said now when he goes to see his father, he can look at him differently. It's kind of a pitiful man that never learned how to have the joy of being with his son as
Yeah.
a good thing. But
so there's emotional healing. I mean, in with or paired with the medical healing too on a lot of these, because I think people are learning to see that, the importance of understanding some of the root causes. And
right, cancer is a big one. And the problem there, even with the alternative, and as I even look on some of the Facebook groups, they're just talking about herbs and, eating organic fruits and vegetables and cannabis oil, but they totally ignore the fact that there's an emotional issue here. And
yeah,
that's another one. Resentment can cause a lot of suffering that it's festering in there and
oh
causing.
yeah, and I mean, and and then some of it is it is some is hereditary, I think, but that can be changed around, and so
Yes,
if
it can. You can break that hereditary cycle, and
right.
also unless you just totally tune out the possibility of reincarnation. Let's say your father had diabetes, and your grandfather, and your great grandfather, and your great great grandfather. You may have been your great great grandfather. So then, like one woman, Lois Grant, she wrote a book on healing, how she healed herself of rheumatoid arthritis. And she said she was regressed and found that she had rheumatoid arthritis for the last 400 years of lifetimes.
Wow.
And so I think sometimes I did that with my ex-husband too. I just dowsed and got how many lifetimes has he had glaucoma, and I got the last 6 lifetimes.
Wow. Wow.
So I think sometimes it's like, okay, we're going to heal it now. This time you're really in there to heal it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to stop for a few minutes and we'll be right back. And we can continue and we'll take questions too. If people are interested in talking to Jean and asking questions. Maybe it's And we are back with Dr. Jean Logan on the Universe Whispers 111. We've been talking about the glyphs and how they work, and kind of a lot of the root causes that illness can kind of be a part of, or it's kind of like the etiology of how diseases can happen, and a lot of it is emotional, and the way that we respond to the emotional, or how we react, and kind of how it just kind of just stays with us, or kind of how we work out the emotional aspects of our life. One of the questions that we had was, where can people get these books? And do you have them is it on Amazon? And
they're all on Amazon.
Okay.
And I also have them through my website, which is Dr.Jean.Logan.com. That's DRJEANLOGAN.com.
Okay. And can you get them at Barnes and Noble?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Can. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Very cool. Are you working on a second book? I mean, fourth book?
I'm working on my fourth book. I've got 3 books. The first one is Unlocking the Power of Glyphs. The second one is Sacred Symbols of Light. And the third one is Symbols of the Dawn. Wow. And then the cards are called Sacred Symbol Healing Cards. And some people, they don't have a lot of money. They say, which one should I get? And I would say Unlocking the Power of Glyphs, because that's the one that heals the emotions, and that's where people need to start. Yeah. I try to discourage people from thinking of them like silver bullets. Like, one woman wrote me and said, do you have a glyph for hammer toes? I mean, this is not, it's a path. I try to tell them that using the glyphs is a path, really. People who are really interested in elevating their consciousness and doing a total healing, not just a hit and miss on different spots of their body. Yeah, not so saying that it won't work for some different things, but because it has, but it's best if you just start at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And that's working on the emotional components, right, possibly of why you have this condition or whatever. So it's maybe through talking therapy, through forgiveness, there's just so many different ways that can be done.
There are other ways people can work on these things.
Right, but, right.
Now, as a really interesting story that came about, we adopted a dog, a 30-pound bundle of mischief, that we had a problem where she, we got her at the Humane Society, and we had a problem where she would get car sick every time we would just drive down the hill. And so I tried creating glyphs, and I want to point out, I am guided to what glyphs to create. Sometimes I go off on my own, and in this case, I made a couple of glyphs. I've tried to emulate the frequency of Dramamine, and then that was only partially successful. And finally, I said, what is, this time I was able to, talking to Creator, and I said, what is the problem, why I can't heal this dog? And I was told that she had brain damage due to starvation and dehydration as a puppy. Mm. So I was told what to write to heal that part of the brain that was damaged. And after we created the glyph, we put it right on her. You can, if you have a short-haired dog, you can put them on the dog, or at night is the best time if they'll accept that. She has a problem with it, and I put it on her crown chakra.
Mm.
And in the book, it shows where the chakras are on the animals.
Yeah, I saw that. That was really cool.
When she kind of rolled her eyes because she could feel it doing something. And after about 2 weeks, she was about 90% better. And another 2 weeks, she never got car sick again.
Wow.
So that made me realize that we can heal the damaged brain without cutting people's heads open. And so I think about these football players who have brain damage that is irreversible and leads to death. I would love a chance to try that. I would think that'd be such a great opportunity to put it.
Yeah.
And
that would be interesting to see.
Right, it really would. There's the things that the glyphs can heal parts of the body that the doctors cannot touch. And like I'm really great for pets, because there's a lot of times pets have problems with their liver, or kidney, and the vets have answer, but this can help with, and also have to avoid a lot of bills with the vet. How many times, if you have pets, how many times you take them there and really feel like you can get your money worth? I mean, you take
they tend to charge a lot if you don't have
I'd
pet
say
insurance.
seems like just the last few years you can't go in and out of there without over $100 bill. So, but there's so much, there are so many things that are happening to have pets and people with the glyphs.
And it's not invasive, for the pets either. It's just.
Well, it works well because they don't have judgment. They're not sitting there thinking, well, how long is this going to take? Or
they just accept it when they realize that something's happening.
Right. Now, with cats, they have you don't have shared cats, right? And using a surrogate, I had a dog who got dementia. He started defecating in the house. And so I used a surrogate for him, even though he was short hair. I don't really know why I did that, but I used a teddy bear. I prefer stuffed animals. You can just write it on a piece of paper, but for him, I used a teddy bear. He seemed to be like he didn't know where he was. He just lost it. And so I put on the teddy bear, I put a glyph to heal the damaged brain, put a glyph for neurological healing, and a glyph for detoxification, because I thought perhaps it's aluminum, like and Alzheimer's, because there's aluminum in lots of bubbles. And he never defecated in the house again. And within a day or two, he was somewhat back to normal. Within 2 days, he was back to his old self.
Wow.
So that was I don't get to put sleep once because she was she get lost in the corner of her room, she was urinating and defecating in her bed even, and it was just when it gets that bad. And if I had known that I know now, we could have saved her.
Yeah, because when animals do that, like that's kind of what they do. They put them down,
Yeah.
And
well,
now,
right.
I mean, if there was more understanding, that would be wonderful. That could possibly save a lot of pets. I just wanted to give the phone number for people to call in. I meant to mention it earlier, but I didn't. But if you'd like to call in and speak with Dr. Jean, you can dial 1-669-900-6833. And we have one number, 1-646-876-9923. And you can ask any question you have for the next 15 minutes. And meanwhile, we will continue to talk. So I also wanted to ask about your Holy Ground farm. I find that I've worked on it for many years. And, I would like to hear more about it and kind of what that's all about. Because you also have a home in Nepal too that you, or are you?
Right, we're an orphanage in Nepal, and also hire school teachers for the remote villages because they have no schools out there, and the children get no education. And so really, I named this place. I'm living on about 100 acres of land, and I named it Holy Ground Farm. I heard a song once many years ago called "This is Holy Ground. We're living on holy ground," and I thought, oh, that sounds neat, and we started calling it Holy Ground Farm, and I named the nonprofit that, and we have 58 acres of land across the road that is donated to the nonprofit, and I picture a children's center there for education and healing. But at the time, I just said, God, okay, I'm making this money on these books. Tell me where the children are to help, and I don't know how. I know how I got started in Nepal. I went to a conference, and there was a woman that was had a booth where she was selling clothing made in Nepal.
Oh, okay.
And she had a business where she had the clothing made, and she had these pictures hanging on the wall there. And there was a picture of a little boy sleeping in the street, and there were other pictures of children in their little school uniforms. And I said, well, tell me about this. And she did, and she said when she went over and started doing this, went to Nepal, she came upon someone who told her about this orphanage, and she started helping them. And I felt like that was supposed to was telling me where to go, what to do. So I sent my son to investigate because he's very adventuresome and very intuitive. And he checked it out, felt really good about what they were doing and who was leading it. And as a matter of fact, he interviewed the man who runs it, who's from New Zealand, and telling all about how he got there and what is going on there. And so we started working with helping the Nepal, and I don't really know why, except that there you can do a lot. I can support, pay rent for the orphanage and pay the money to send them to school. Where in this country, I did get some criticism. They say, well, why aren't you helping American children? Like, American children should only be helped, And the thing is, the problem is, if you found some homeless people and you gave them some money, they would go to the grocery store and fill up their basket, and 95% would not even have any nutrition in. There's no, it's just not the same here. They would have 6-pack of Coke in there and all that stuff. And so here, the children just only get the food they need and the very basics. I mean, there's no luxuries over there. They don't have any toys. There is no, the poverty is so extreme there. It's
yeah.
Not that the poverty isn't bad here. It's just a totally different picture. You have mothers who are working jobs for minimum wage and, living in tents. It's just a different situation.
So the farm helps to
we
fund the orphanage.
Right. And I just kind of put whatever's going to happen on the 58 acres across the road, I just put that in God's hands, and it'll all come together at the right time.
Yeah.
Because it would take a lot of money to do that. But one thing people ask me is, do I have to believe in the glyphs for them to work? And that's when I tell them that they work great on animals and they don't believe anything. But people can get in the way if you start putting expectations and doubts and skepticism. All that is energy. And it's energy that interferes. If you can just relax, I tell people, think like a dog. Think like a dog.
Just have that positive, just keep the intention positive and the skepticism out of their way, and just see how it works. Well, I am definitely going to try some of these glyphs and work on them, and I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how helpful they will be. And they're really cool. You're right, they're very simplistic, but they're, I can kind of feel the power in some of them. So it should be interesting.
Another question I get is people say, can I help other people with these glyphs?
Yeah.
Yes, there's one called Reaching Out. And a lot of times you want to help someone. If you got a niece or a granddaughter or something, or a friend who's totally doesn't get it, who's just really a lost soul, you can go ahead and you could write their name on a piece of paper, and then you ask permission from their soul for you to do this. You can't do anything to people without permission from their soul. And if you can't dowse, you just make a statement. If their soul grants permission, send the energy from this glyph to that person. And for 6 weeks, it will send a series of energies to that person. And I've had a lot of interesting experiences And people say, I just tried it with my grandson, and it was, and she, you know, it was amazing. You know, so it was just, and then you can put a picture on or their name, and you can use just a piece of paper, or you can use, like I said, a surrogate, a teddy bear, or a doll, or something like that. I kind of like stuffed animals because it gives you
Yeah,
more.
when I do distance Reiki, I use teddy bear.
Right.
Sometimes, you know, and I have one of those Build-A-Bears, and it has like a little gingham heart on its front. So I figured that's a good healing animal. I mean, a good healing prop, I guess, is what you would call
Right.
it.
Sure.
You know, and I mean, it's all about that intention, you know, and have you done classes in helping people to learn how to use them, or is it?
No, I really haven't. I have not done that, but I had people like I had one woman contact me, and she said, "Can I workshop your glyphs? Can I do a workshop?" And I thought, I never thought of it. That was the beginning, and I thought, well, I've never thought about that. And she was wanted to do this, and so I sold her a box of books at half price, and to get her started, and gave her a lot of material to help her.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, I said, she says, how many books is that? And I said, that's 16. And she said, well, it'll probably take me a year to do that. But she had done workshops, so she was experienced with it. And so within 6 weeks, she had sold all those books, and she also sold pendulums.
Wow.
The books have a chart.
Oh, yes, yes.
Pendulum for
Yeah.
helping you figure out what glyph it is. And so she was on her way to the second book already.
Wow.
So yeah, that worked out great. So I had about 3 or 4 people who contacted me and who would want to do a workshop with the glyphs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that works out real. I feel like I need to just stick to, right now I'm upgrading the glyphs because I'm getting guidance on the glyphs. Like it's 10 years ago, I came out with the first book, and I'm getting ideas and I'm getting guidance on how to make the glyphs stronger. Or like, for example, on the first book, I have a healing the chakras, and it was 7 chakras. Now it's been upgraded to 12. Now the books
Wow.
are automatically upgraded, even though they're already in print, but the upgrade is automatic with all the books that are out there. The third book, I got into a bit of things where I was using frequencies to help keep pests out of the garden with some of the glyphs. And that was very effective, although then I need to find some way of using something besides a piece of paper in the garden. But I'm still, my thought is we need to try to get the chemicals off the earth.
Yeah. What about like could you draw the glyph like on a piece of material? You know, and like,
well, actually, you could print the glyphs on these things that you iron on a T-shirt. And one of the glyphs, I tell people to go ahead and have a T-shirt made with it. Those are the glyphs that are for serious viral illnesses like AIDS and Lyme disease that mutate. And they can be put on a T-shirt. What sometimes I had thought, if I had, right now it's just me. My intention is there will be somebody to work with me on this, because I think we could have them on bed sheets. And I have one bed sheet that I bought. It was had little pictures on it, like a snowflake and a bear and a Christmas tree and so forth. And each little square was a glyph. And yes, that could be done. I think it'd be great. I have one that will heal, and you could have a Band-Aid that would kill bacteria and speed up healing.
oh, that's cool. That's
Right.
really
So
cool.
I have all these ideas, but
Yeah.
there's more than I can do on my own.
Well, I'd love to talk to you about it sometime, because I have some ideas myself as to how they could be done. But we can do that another time
Yeah.
if
Right.
if you would like. But oh, no, I just lost. I'm trying to get to the chat room. And I wanted to welcome Diane Jane. She's on Facebook too, listening. And I'm just wondering if Diane or if Tess is still there, if they have any questions for Jean, you can type them out or you can call, and I'll read the number again. 1-669-900-6833, 1-646-876-9923. So if you have any questions, feel free to type or you can call. We have a few minutes. Boy, the time's flying here.
Yeah, when you're having fun, right?
And
it
also,
is
if if Sprinkles has any questions too, feel free to ask. You know, another thing you can do is just, you know, you could write to Jean too. I think it's, and I'm not sure what what your email is, if you want to give that out, or if they can just
well,
go to your
if you
website.
just go to the website and
Yeah.
then there's a way to contact me through the website, and
Okay.
I'll repeat that. It's drjeanlogan.com. That's DRJEANLOGAN.com.
Okay. Great. Great. Okay. Well, we have 1 minute left, and I just want to thank you so much for coming on, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you know, how all this evolves for you and for others. Thanks so much for taking the time to be on today.
Thank you, Peg. I really enjoyed it, and many blessings to everyone.
Have a great day. Bye-bye, everyone.